Hello everybody and welcome back. If you watched the last video, we flew the van's RV-8 and we actually landed at Colorado Springs. That was where we ended. So we're going to do a flight that you guys have seen before. We're going to go Colorado Springs to Centennial, but we're going to do it in the RV-8, so we're going to test out procedures, handling, how much fun it is to actually land on the short runway, and things that we're going to have to deal with, like this thing has a short landing distance, but where the taxiways are is going to actually make a huge difference. So we're going to start our way up north. We're going to take off, start flying up north, and while we're doing that, I'm going to grab my procedures. We're going to strap that on. We're going to actually start looking at it and see where do we want to land. I think I know which runway we're going to land on, but I want to check the weather, make sure we actually can land on it, and then see if there's a procedure for it, if we want to fly it. But a direct to KAPA or Centennial Airport will get us started because it's going to be a pretty long flight. This thing is not the fastest in the world, but we're going to try and climb it up to about probably 12,000. That'll clear us over the hump, and that'll get us a little bit better fuel economy. So I'm going to have to play with all the levers to check out what that is. Now, I'll explain why and how I'm tuning as we're going, but most of these are kind of guesses based on the parameters that we have. In the real world, when you get your aircraft certified, you have to figure out all of these things. There's actually procedures to figure out best cruise speed, best climb speed, how you're supposed to trim it, where you're supposed to put the prop, how you lean it out with the mixture. There's a whole shebang of what everything does. I have a decent idea of how it works, but I haven't been through the procedures before. Hopefully someday. Anyways, I'm going to stop babbling. We're going to start flying, and here we go. So, we're in the sim. Weather just reloaded. Brakes on, parking brakes out. Let's check on fuel. Right tank is still the fullest, so we're going to taxi there. Technically, Colorado Springs is 125, but it's doing Air Force Academy. We can still use 3012. You can change that here, but I'm going to change it down here to 3012. Altitude is 6,060 feet. 6,100 is roughly what we're looking for, depending on where we are in the airport. So that is correct. Unsurprisingly, we are definitely correct on that one. So we have a tailwind of roughly 0. Actually gonna hit brakes, yeah. So I'm looking right there, left side, right there, telling me wind is very calm. No wind out there. We are going to taxi out to the runway. Same one we landed on. We're going to go same direction. Again, you have to actually use the rudders in this thing. You can't just go in a straight line. I just can't see anything. We're doing 6 knots. Unfortunately, taxiing in a tail dragger is pretty slow. You can taxi significantly faster in a tricycle, mostly because you don't have the effect where you can actually get the tail so far outside of the direction that you are going that it is physically impossible for you to recover it, and there are some tricks and tips that you can use to get back, but at that point you are so far gone that the chances are almost 0. As much as I would like to just take off here, because I know we can, the two most useless things are altitude above you and runway behind you. So if we hit an emergency, I have to make sure nobody's on the taxiway, which there shouldn't be because I think I turned off all the stuff. And we're not flying on lining yet, so. But anyways, those are the two most useless things, and they're a phenomenal phrase because when you're taking off, if you have an emergency, the most useless thing is all the runway behind you. All you have is what's in front of you. and the altitude above you, because the sky's endless. But what you really need is some altitude below you. That would really help you out. And we're only at 17 knots, but this feels super, super quick. And the reason being is small aircraft, tail dragger, we're having to do all the stuff left and right, left and right. And we're actually going fast enough that we're triggering the stall horn. That's funny. We're at an 11.6 degree angle of attack. Now, because I know where we're going, we can stay straight a little bit. So we can do a little bit less winding, but we still need to wind a little bit just so we can see things like the run-up pad, which I believe is right there. It is. We're going to use that to do some things like programming in our GPS. Helpful. Partially because I forgot to do it, and partially because it's a very good idea to actually do a run-up. We realistically don't need to, because in X-Plane, everything you have is a given. Like, the idea is that you're given a good airplane. So unless you programmed in failures, either random or otherwise, you're never going to realistically have a failure. And it's kind of hard to taxi in this bit, because we're taxiing to the end. But if we come up on the end on the wrong cycle, it'll be kind of hard to position ourselves where we want to. And you do want to go to the end, mostly so that the next aircraft can also be ready. So we're going to come all the way down, we're going to point our nose so that the next aircraft's not going to get a huge blast of jet wash, well, prop wash, if they come up. So, brakes are on. I'm actually going to come down here, set parking brake, and we're going to program in the GPS. So, we're going to go direct. Okay. Control A. P. A. There's Centennial. We're actually going to go flight plan. I'm going to edit it, and we're going to go insert KCOS. S. So, Color Springs to KAPA. We are 46.5 nautical miles. I believe this thing will do 120, 140, maybe a little more. Figure 150, so it'll be a 20-minute flight. We're not going to enter procedures yet. So we can hide the flight plan, and then we'll do some nav later. Nothing I really need to change over here. We are at 6,099 feet. I believe that's GPS, and then it could be barometric. Let's see, if I change it, does it change? Yep, that's barometric. So we're almost at 6,100, which is the published altitude at the end. Flaps are currently up. We're going to set them to takeoff. We're going to go into the transponder, squawk VFR, and we're also going to turn it to altitude mode. So we are 1200 altitude broadcasting. Don't need nearest, don't need timer, don't need an ident. All of our information we need is there. So let's go flight plan. Hit menu, activate legs. We're going to KAPA. We don't actually need what's up that? We don't need the DME. We do want the GPS. Not entirely sure what OBS does. We would like you, and the DME, I guess we'll leave that. And then Nav2, we really don't need. So, wind, option 1 is an X and a Y, option 2 I tend to leave it on. Alright, we are all configured, flaps are ready. We're going to do a quick run up. So that's brakes on full. We're going to bring it up to 1200 RPM. Hold back on the stick, or else if the tail comes up, you could be in trouble. Remember, bring it up to 1200. Bring it right up to green line. So that is 1500 RPM. Make sure you have back pressure on that stick, or you could be getting yourself in trouble. It might just nose over. Alright, mag drop 1. That's a 130 drop. No, it's about 100 drop. Over to the other mag. About the same drop. Back to both. We're good there. Same place. We're going to go up to 1400. So we're going to do 1500. That'll put us in the green. We're going to do some prop. Going back, feather. RPM drop. Good. Mixture, we don't really care about. But we're going to pull it back just a smidgen. And bring it back. Hold on to that before you bring it back. We're going to set our altitude, which is normally set. There's our heading. Where's altitude? Altitude's up here. I have it over here. We're going to bring that up to 12,000. And you can see that. Can you see that? Where do you see that? Oh. Duh. Standard Garmin 1000. It's right there. Vertical speed's going to automatically be handled. IAS mode, we're going to put it at 100 knots, I guess. We're probably not going to use it. Heading is going to be northwards, so we're actually going to put this in line with our... Oh, we should have taxied the other way so that we could take off the right direction. 344, that's where we're going. Our course, we're going to ignore for now. Overall, we are ready and set. So, Springs Tower, orange RV, ready for takeoff, runway 17 right. So, we're going to get a cleared for takeoff, runway 17 right. Northbound departure approved. I guess when we called, we should have said orange RV ready for takeoff 17 right, northbound departure requested. Or request northbound departure. And they will come over and say northbound departure approved. Which basically means climb to 800 feet. Which we have a radar altimeter, so that'll make that super easy. And we have to fly out the sides of the aircraft because we can't actually see down the runway. So, 1 potato, 2 potato, 3 potato. Smoothly advance the throttles. If you just throw them in there, you can cause some problems. No wind, so we're not putting in any crosswind corrections. Nose is coming down. We are just about fast enough to fly, and we are off the ground. So, we are going to climb at about 70 knots, a little under. Looking for that 200-foot mark where we're going to level off a little bit. There's 200, level off a little bit, accelerate to 70 knots. And flaps up 1. Flaps are now all the way up, retrimming. Continuing our climb at 75 knots. Now, it is important to maintain runway heading until 800 feet AGL. That is pattern altitudes. We are at, well, pattern altitude is 800 to 1,000. And I believe you have to stay between 800 and 1,000 until you depart the airspace, unless you are actually told you may climb, or with unlimited climb, and the weather just changed. That's okay. Alright. We are going to go nav mode and vertical speed, and then we're going to go autopilot engage. Even knows what to do. So we're going to go heading mode first. That will allow us to parallel the runway 17, so 344, that would be good. So So I'll just parallel the runway, get out of the jet traffic, and not worry about it. We're basically in an unlimited climb at 800 feet per minute. I'm going to pull the throttles back a little bit because we are currently over temped. Not that much. And we're going to climb at an airspeed of 80 knots. So it doesn't really matter what the power setting is anymore. The aircraft will pitch for 80 knots. I don't know what that double V is. Vertical velocity, probably? Yeah, so 550. It's going to pitch us for 80 knots. We need to see our little bit of stuff. So if you look, our oil temperature is really high. We're going to kind of level off a little bit. I'm going to start pulling back the prop a little bit. And we're going to add in a little bit more in our fuel mixture. We're going to start burning a little extra fuel for actually cooling purposes. So instead of getting an actual return on it, it's just going to be for cooling, which will help us cool. I'm going to pull that back just a smidgen. We don't want to over torque the engine, but we also, if you get too low, you'll basically smother it. Manifold pressure is 15. We have so much to work with. Oil PSI is down. That's good. Temperature in Fahrenheit's not necessarily going down. We're really not increasing in altitude a lot. Let's give it a little bit less on the prop. We've got a little too much torque. We need a little bit more airspeed. So I'm going to actually increase that to 85. I believe that VFE is actually speed over the ground. I'm not 100% sure. And I'm going to grab my kneeboard. Hiding in all the cables amidst my other toys. It was handled in the cockpit. Radar altimeter is increasing and bearing is 345, destination is 42 miles, ETA is 25 minutes. That is quite the time on the estimation. One thing I have definitely learned, put the kneeboard as high as you can physically get it. It's much harder to put it on unless you're standing, which I would advise to do. But the higher it is, the better it is when you're in the cockpit. Oil temps are coming down. That is good. It's that oil in Fahrenheit that we're looking at. So I believe we can pull back just a smidgen more on the prop RPM. Let's increase to 8 gallons per hour. Now, as we pull back, the RPM is going to drop and the manifold pressure is going to increase. We're going to pull it back to the first notch. Now, it's doing more torque with less to do. We're going to lean out the mixture just a little bit. Ooh, that engine temperature skyrocketed. I don't know what's good or bad. Also, if you look at the fuel, we are slightly lower on the right tank. So once we get down to, not 20, but when we've got another 2.5 pounds out, we will start to address that. And I think I pulled this back too far, so we're going to increase it. We're going to run 75%, and we're currently at 75%. Let's run those for a minute and see what happens. So we're only going up at 250 feet per minute, but we don't have any of those, and we're also going to swap over to nav mode because we're currently paralleling our course. We would like to be on the course. So I'm also going to pull up some diagrams. And we're going to try, 4,800 feet, that's plenty. Centennial for 2.8. If we can pull up ATIS, 120.3. 120.3. Based on that, that'll change. Perfect. We're landing to the south. 3011. 17 left, 17 right, and 10. We're going to land runway 10, and I don't think that has an approach. So that would matter. What was the weather? Actual weather, light, and variable. So it doesn't matter what we're flying as far as speed is concerned. A little bit more throttle because I think we can make that work. I think let's do the 2.8 approach. It's an RNAV for 2.8. So let's go in here and do flight plan, procedure. Let's select an approach. We're going to do the RNAV. There is a 17 left. Let's do 2.8. Oh, where do we want to come in? Delvey? Isabel? I think we're going to honestly not care most of it. I'm going to actually come over to this guy, hit procedure, select approach, because this lets us have a little bit more information. Yeah. I'm going to go to the next one. We're going to come in for the 2.8. Click. And vectors or Delvey. Delvey or the Esbel. And it doesn't tell us. There's Esbel. I think we're going to go the Delvey then. Delvey Esbel. So we're going to, yep, Delvey's the right one. Minimums are going to be barometric, altimeter. No, we're going to leave that off. I don't really care that much. And we're going to activate the approach. Holy, out of the way. Oh, oxygen required. Well, oxygen optional because we are above 10,000 feet. Normally on high altitude flights. So we can see. Okay, that's cool. So we have 21.98 pound psi inside of our oxygen tanks. We're probably using like a quarter psi. I hope that didn't bring us down to 1,200 feet. It might have. I hope not. I think that TAS is 160 miles per hour over the ground, but I don't know if I like that. So that's 16 miles until we get to Delvey. Let's close the procedure. So Delvey Docky 28.53313. Do we actually want to fly the full procedure 8,100 feet? Normally I would say yes, purely because I don't want to cancel. There we go. Wow, that brings us way out and over. I don't think we need that. Also, our temperatures are doing pretty good, so I'm going to add a little bit more throttle. I don't know what CHT is. Core temperature? We've got... Alright. We're going to add full fuel. Engine temp's a little chilly, but fine. And we're going to push it full forward. I'm going to give it a little bit less torque on it. And we're going to pull back on the throttle just a little bit. I think we're going to bring her back to 80 knots. Because we're hardly climbing. 350 is climbing pretty decent for something like this. I don't think we need 12,000 though. 10 might be fine. Yeah, over the ground we're doing 30 knots faster. Also less than 1,000, so I think it beeped at us. We've got a 5-knot tailwind. Cool. That explains why they're landing that way. Geez, the missed approach is all the way out here. Glad we don't have to do that. Alright, let's look at the approach. Where's Docky? Docky's at 8100, so we're actually going to go over here to our flight plan. Scroll down to Docky. Hit menu, activate leg. We're going to cut out a couple miles. It's like 5 miles, but a couple of miles. So we're going Docky. We need to be there at 8100 feet. Yeah, we're supposed to be right there, but... Whoa there. Where are you going? Whoa. No, 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 no. 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 Dang it. So we do have to go there. Menu. Activate leg. So, yeah. That kind of annoys me a little bit, but we'll be fine. Coming back down. The temperature went down a little bit. I think we were just over torquing it, so something internally is... It was getting too hot. So that meant I had too much in the constant speed prop. Too much torque. So I'm going to actually decrease that a little bit. Increase the throttle just a smidgen. Let's maintain 14.5 pounds. In manifold. Alright, you guys have seen this approach before. I've walked through it before. This should be significantly easier, and I'm going to be in the hurry up, go faster boat this time, rather than, oh god, how do I get it to slow down? So, this will be kind of nice. I can get this aircraft down. Most of the other ones, not anywhere near as easy to get down. So, this is going to turn into a nice little external and internal montage of the airplane flying itself. So, we will see you, not necessarily on the ground, but on the approach. Alright, and we're pretty much back. So we are just about at Delvey. We are 7 knots tailwind. Weather just updated, it's pretty decent. I'm going to tune in the localizer. Is there not one? There's not. There's not a localizer for this. Also, that was Delvey that we just... Nope. It was not Delvey. That was Rocky. So we have to be... Sorry. That was not Docky. That was Delvey. I am all confused. But basically, we are headed to Docky now. I think. V-path... That's fine. We're in vertical speed mode at 700 feet per minute. A little more engine power. We are going Delvey to Docky. Docky, we need to be at least 8,100 feet. ETA is 2 minutes, which means we can lose 1,400 feet, which actually will not put us at the correct altitude. So we're going to pull back just a smidgen. And we're going to go vertical speed 1,000. And we're going to keep our speed up. Keep the controllers a little happier. Should be right in front of us. This is the airport we're going into, so I'm going to decrease the range. No reason to have a whole lot of extra stuff on the screen that we don't need. Say with like 600 things on the screen. I mean, it's a thing. We are a minute away and 1,000 feet. Distance is 1 mile. That's 30 seconds. Yeah, so we're gonna be pulling back a little bit on that. We are at least 8,100. No localizer, so I don't know what it's saying we're gonna intercept. In theory, you should intercept the localizer at 7,500 feet. This procedure is climb to 6,400 and right hand climbing turn to 9,000 direct Esbel. I don't have any of that programmed in. We are below the VNAV path. We should be capturing that right about. We are capturing it. Perfect. Let's activate approach mode. We should be capturing. We are direct Mesme, so let's actually decrease our altitude down to 7,600. 7,600. We are coming in on the approach. Why we're only going down 100 feet per minute, I don't know. Oh, there's the approach. Just captured it. This is basically the case of now we wait and we look out for the runway. We are 30 miles? No. 30 mile range. Still pretty far out. That's a 7.5 nautical mile range. Our circle? That's weird. Why is it not on us? Shouldn't we be in the middle? That's weird. Anyways. We're low on the glide path. Let's set our altitude as low as we need to. I think we are going to capture the glide path soon. So we're in approach mode, which basically means it's kind of ignoring the altitudes. Runway altitude is at 5,885, so we're going to set 5,600 just in case we've got something incorrectly set up. If you can look here, the localizer's coming in. We are almost 1,000 feet AGL. We have a whole lot of oxygen left. We can turn that off because we don't need it anymore. Going down at 300 feet per minute, slowly catching up on that glide path. And then we're going to go direct. Altitude mode is actually off right now. We're going to increase the altitude up to 6,400 feet. 6,400 before we make any turns. That is our missed approach altitude. We're quite a ways out. Not quite a ways. I'm going to pull up the flight plan, not here, but here. Currently going to Figby at 1.3 miles from it. And then we have 3.5 miles to the runway. We can slow this bird down really quick. That's it right there. That's the runway. I'm kind of having trouble seeing it easily right now. I mean, now I can see it with the PAPI. We've got a little bit of crosswind left to right. We do have a tailwind. It's a little crosswind. That's it. Alright, we are going to run our landing checklist. So, gas on the fullest tank. Left undercarriage is down. Mixture is full fine. Prop is full fine. Seatbelts are set, and we're going to slow down for the approach. We are now 3 miles out and not configured. So, pulling back on the throttle, watching it come back. it is maintaining our glide slope. I kind of like to cheat this way because it's basically flying our glide path for us. And as I dump flaps, we are in white zone. Flaps 1 coming out. Giving it a little bit of throttle. We're going to run 25% throttle. And flaps 2 coming out. We're going to maintain about an 8-degree AOA. Maybe not. Adding power. So power will also change our AOA. I'm at 50%. That's insane. But why did you freeze, map? I don't care about that. We have a couple seconds. Go track up. I don't know. It's weird. Anyways. We are currently running a 5-degree AOA. We are close. So, autopilot off. We're going to keep her in sight. Like crosswind. A little more power. I like to keep it about a 5-degree nose-up angle, so a 7-degree is a 2-degree glide path, which should bring us in closer. We're aiming for the middle of the runway. Come on. Alright, so that brought us in. So we're going to pull back. We're looking for 8 degrees and 5 on the nose. Sorry, an 8-degree angle of attack and 5 degrees on the nose. We're a little under that, so we should actually be coming up a little bit. And smoothly pull up the throttle. Very nice and slowly. Flaring, bringing it down. Keeping it on the runway. Stick pressure back. Keeping the nose in the air, which means you can't see anything, but it is also keeping pressure on the tail wheel, giving us a lot more directional control. And that's very aircraft dependent. Tail wheel free castering versus the locking makes a huge difference on that. I'm going to flip over to the airport chart on my leg. Not the time to be doing it, but we did. These little breaks. We're going to pull off on Charlie 2 and taxi over to the hangars. Because we're definitely not on a ferry flight. Like, not ferry. That's a different thing. We're definitely not on a commercial flight. Centennial Airport, orange vans RV, clear of runway 28. We're going to taxi over here. I know what I just said, but I think we're going to taxi in there anyways. Ba-ba-da-ba-da-da-da. Never seen these guys before. I wonder if that's real. There's just an external parking with a little ramp overhead. Could be. Well, we are in fact going to use one of those parking spots for this. This is like the smallest aircraft. Really, weather? Now you're gonna twitch? Don't mess with me like that. I guess this will protect from a little bit of sun and mostly hail. So, I'm full on the brakes. We're gonna pop the parking brake out. We made that. We definitely made that. Probably a little far forward. And we are going to flaps full up. Props, mixture, etc. And let's begin our quick shutdown. I know you guys aren't completely ready for this, but so there's two ways to shut down. One, you can cut off the electrical mixture, and that will leave fuel in the cylinders while it shuts down, or you can cut off the fuel. They are both valid ways of doing it, but if you cut off fuel, it will actually lean it out really far, and you will actually end up with a little bit of scorching in the engines. So I would recommend actually turning the key all the way to off. That will cut the electrical so that you don't have spark plugs. Then you can pull back the prop in the mixture. That way your prop won't quite windmill the same way. And you also don't have fuel, so it's double redundancy. Then we're going to come through taxi strobe and nav lights. Oh, you can kind of see the taxi lights. There's taxi strobe and nav, probably should have turned those off earlier, but not by much. And then we're going to turn off fuel, avionics, and battery. Make sure you're off. Make sure you are set. Can we? Yes, we can. That makes me really excited. Just it's the little things. They did this aircraft so well. So well. This van's RV-8 is phenomenal. And that definitely is not what I look like. But who knows, maybe I'll have a hat on someday. Anyways, thank you guys for joining me on this quick flight to Centennial in the van's RV-8. Hopefully you enjoyed it as much as I did, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.